Good Friday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk, an insider's guide to real estate life in the pursuit of happiness, presented by the Yes Team Realtors and Yes Realty Partners of Keller Williams. We're live in Charlottesville, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille Network. Judah Wickhauer, our fabulous director. Again, my name is Jerry Miller. Our star, our executive producer, our distinguished gentleman is Keith Smith.
I don't know if that's pretty high accolades for me to keep up with.
I mean,
cheers.
If you can, cheers, my friend. If you can keep up with Charlottesville and accolades,
dude. A week ago, you were running, you know what, to
Yeah.
the wall.
Yeah.
It's just hard to believe that was a week ago that we sat in these chairs for 12 hours to raise some money for affordable housing. And thank you, by the way, to everybody out in Charlottesville. Thank you for all the companies. Thank you for all the artists. Thank you for the land trust staff, Susan Steinmart, and everybody in your team to pull off a miracle, frankly. And it's never been done before. So there's some debate about doing one in the future, but we're gonna put that off for a while because Smith needs a little bit of recovery from that. From Smith anyway. I know you young fellows can keep up. So hey, number 10. So the Milken Institute. They do this every year. It's kind of a geekish kind of thing. They look at all the statistics and all these stats, but we're number 10. So we consistently are in the top 10 in all these different type of, I don't want to use polls because this is much more than a poll.
Sure.
This is an actual study that a white paper that they've done, and Jerry's going to put a link in there. But
check the comment section, Facebook, for the link.
Please.
I'm putting the link in now.
It's 50 some odd pages long, and it's, if you've got nothing to do this weekend, it's a good snowy recovery for snowy weekend. But I'll read a little bit of it. So they have particular cheat sheets, and Judah will pop that up on the screen. Charlottesville high-tech scene has been the success, is basically leading this. I'm not going to read it verbatim, but they talk about how the high-tech department or high-tech industry in this region is growing. Everything from, they mentioned Northrop Grumman, they mentioned all our friends at Co-Construct and their cybersecurity and all these different high-tech firms, but most folks don't know that. There's a ton of them tucked around in here. Yeah. I know you know that. And, you know, the last sentence, in any case, investment in affordable housing and continue economic growth in a competitive industries will ensure Charlottesville progresses up the rankings. So when I read that, of course, affordable housing is my kind of passion here, and we're in a real estate show. So, we bumped up, pretty interesting. Job growth, we were ranked 26th in the country between 14 and 19, and we were ranked 28th between 18 and 19. So there's just some really great statistics in here. But I just, everybody wonders why everybody wants to come to Charlottesville and why we have this maybe inventory crunch. It's a nationwide one. It's reasons like this. It's this 50 some odd pages.
This is a great topic.
Yeah. Well,
we should take a deep dive on this topic.
Okay, I'll follow your lead.
I'll play two guys at the bar, two guys at the coffee shop.
Coffee shop, a little too early for the bar thing.
At the coffee shop, talking about why Charlottesville's a special place. A topic right down our heart. Why don't we do this? Why don't we go Tony Kornheiser, Mike Wilbon, back and forth PTI. You take a reason why, I'll take a reason why, we throw it back and forth. Immediately, I'm going to say the University of Virginia, all the employment opportunities UVA offers, sports teams.
You cheated. You read the report.
This is also common sense.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. UVA, it's sports teams. Think about everything it has going on. UVA, we have restaurants, vineyards, breweries, wineries, outdoor hiking.
You said one, so you have to take one. Then
Go ahead.
You got to let me have one. So yours is UVA.
Yeah.
So why is UVA?
Employment opportunities, sports, places for your kids to study, for you to get extra education. The supply chain that is UVA is obscene. Sure. And it's people that are offering uniforms, insurance, graphic design, social media, construction, subcontractors, HVAC, carpenters, painters. It's a huge supply chain.
So my first thing that pops into my head, and this hasn't been planned, my first thing that popped in my head is the arts scene.
Okay.
Right. Just think about this. We had John Dirth on last week, at whatever hour it was, and I happen to be a jazz fan, but my wife and I love the opera. We love the arts, so we tend to go to plays and all that stuff. UVA, there's world-class artists here, and people attract that to that. People want to be part of that. So that's one of the reasons we love this. You know, the list is long.
I mean, so long. I mean, we throw in the fact that we have the interest rates, the outdoors, the UVA, the restaurants, the wineries, the breweries, the music, and then we throw in the fact that people are moving here more than ever.
Sure.
Of course, we have a pinch.
Well, but this is the draw to here, and if you take a look at the historical record, I don't know if that makes any sense. This number 10, number 2 for retirees in the country, number 3 on the other side of the mountain. That just didn't happen this year. That just didn't happen last year. This is a consistent thing, and that's what people like. They like consistency, and it's been very consistent. Look, we're not going to talk about this in details, but you know, we all know we've had our struggles, right? We will continue to have struggles. It's how we deal with these struggles and how we move forward with these. But high level, people are moving
It's
here.
a coveted place to live.
Absolutely.
Coveted place to live.
Well, I've got 2 family members in the hospital today as we speak, and there's that. World class. I think it's top 100 or some number. I don't know. And somebody on the feed might
for
know.
hospitals.
UVA, yeah. So all these things stack up, and then we can go to vineyards as you said. But the thing that I noted on this when I read the report early this morning before we started talking about this is one tends to forget about the technical hub that Charlottesville has become, and that's only recently. When I say recently, last 5 years or 10 years or something along those lines.
And it's not even to its fullest potential, because we know Dairy Market, Dairy Central, there's going to be a lot more emphasis on jobs, companies, and employment, and that's not even at capacity.
No, it's not. I wouldn't want to misquote a
Willow Tree is another example.
That's exactly right.
The building between ACAC and the downtown mall,
Correct.
Kuttner's building, not at capacity. Joffrey in the Code building, not at capacity.
Go off topic a little bit. Have you actually walked around and checked out that building that they're building?
Which one?
The one by ACAC?
You're talking about where Apex is going?
Yep.
Yeah.
Have you actually physically recently walked around and looked at it?
I'm at ACAC 5 days a week.
So the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Did you see how they're building that?
Yeah.
That is super cool.
I'll tell you.
I'm sorry to get off topic,
No,
but
this is great.
but I geeked out. The developer me geeked out on that, and I kind of wanted to wander the job site, but obviously can't do that unless you're invited. But I believe it's a timber frame structure.
Well, I don't know that. That's over my pay grade.
I need to get a little closer to it. But I was watching them yesterday when I was walking downtown. It's either prefabricated or
I like where this is going.
Precast. I'm sorry, I'm just going.
No,
off
I do.
there.
I like where this is
So it's either precast concrete. Or some sort of timber frame. More than likely, it's probably precast concrete of some sort. But the structure is really cool looking. If you ever wandered around down there, check it out. Just when you go to ACAC tomorrow, check it out.
You know what? I was thinking about you, and I was thinking about this topic.
Uh-oh.
So COVID comes to Charlottesville, March 2020?
Yeah.
1 month after COVID comes to Charlottesville in March 2020, the ACAC downtown big parking lot is blowing up for that construction. Kuttner's, what is that, 323 project where Co-Construct's going?
Sure.
Woodruff's Code on the downtown mall, the old ice park.
Sure.
So all this stuff is happening
Sure.
when COVID hits. So in a way, from a positive standpoint, COVID was good to downtown. Because if these construction projects had happened when COVID was not going on and people were still going downtown, it would be a cluster, an absolute cluster.
Wow. So.
Because ACAC is probably 300 spaces just by itself, the big spot, the big lot.
But all those projects were in the works long before
sure.
COVID, right?
Yeah.
So they just happened to get to be built
Yeah.
during this part. It's other than employment taking a deep hit, right? Initially, I think I'm trying to bring Lisa Sturtevant, on to start talking some new numbers next month on that kind of stuff. But putting my former recovering developer builder, to a certain extent, they're actually picking up tempo on the projects because they're not dealing with so much traffic.
Oh, of course.
The code building.
That's what I'm saying. COVID has helped these projects.
Got it.
That's what I'm saying.
My chemistry is not quite up to yours yet.
COVID has helped the code building, the Apex Clean Energy.
So I was talking to the
projects.
code guys on the job site. I was just walking around talking to them, and they're it's easier to move cement trucks around. It's easier to move equipment around. It's easier to get in and get out. I think the weather isn't helping. The schedule, but I was Josh Batman, a dear friend of my personal friend and friend of the show. They're doing this multifamily project behind Dairy Market, right? I believe they're on track to actually.
Ooh, tell me about that.
Well, I mean, they're rocking and rolling with it. I don't want to give a date and get it wrong, but I will tell you that their tempo is picking up a little bit because of availability or ability to get in and get out and get some work done. But one of the things that we were maybe talk about today was, and we'll maybe do it later, is why you need a real estate agent, a real estate professional to help you in new construction. But one of the struggles that they're facing is there's just not available workforce. There's material problems, and then there's workforce issue. But do yourself a favor, if you've got the time and a cup of coffee, read this report. It's way too lengthy to go in page by page and go into it, but some of the information in it is pretty exciting. But and a lot of people don't know what we've got here. Right? And it's amazing. I was talking to Elizabeth Cromwell earlier this week on just to touch base with her.
CEO, Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just to touch base with her and say, how you doing? How's the chamber doing?
Yeah.
What can we do for you? How's things going along? I think it was time for us to up our membership is probably what that phone call was about. But so maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Somehow another credit card number was part of the conversation. But I wanted to see how we're doing because we were part of this Project Rebound, and it was a really great conversation. They are, and particularly Ms. Cromwell was thinking forward. We were having a conversation. What does the next 6 months look like? What does the next 12 months look like? What does the next 24 months look like? Kind of this conversation that you and I have been having live about, okay, we're, God willing, vaccine works and COVID is a thing of the past. What does it look? What does the workspace look? What does this look like now? So we were having that kind of a conversation, and she's hopefully come on next month and chat a little bit about it.
What'd she say?
She agreed with us.
Yeah.
It's going to be. She feels it's going to be a hybrid, and that seems to be the leading edge of it. That some people will work from home. I think we just got so efficient at it, but there's certain industries that won't. Right? We in our world have to physically go into people's homes. Right? We can't do what we do 100% remotely. Other folks, graphic artists, so forth and so on, could. But the interesting, to go back to this 10th, the number 10, one of the things that they were shouting out about this deep in the article was about something that you've been super passionate about, is our restaurant scene and helping our restaurant workers, get through this and get into the next level. They actually, I think, quoted your number. We're somewhere around 9 in the country. So,
I mean, if we don't get restaurant workers back to working in restaurants, we're going to lose a tremendous base from a economic diversity standpoint. I think it's extremely important. And I was having this conversation. Why don't we get this in the news cycle now? I was having a conversation with Herb Porter, And
I'm sorry?
Herb Porter.
Got it.
And Herb has been the CVille Neighborhood Association president for over a decade. Herb is A-plus people. If you know Herb Porter at all, you know what he stands for. And he and I were talking about this. Why, with public housing, are there not standards of performance that you have to meet to maintain that opportunity? For example, if you're a part of public housing, the first thing he said was public housing should be spread throughout Charlottesville, and it should not be aggregated in pockets. He said it should be spread throughout Charlottesville, so it creates diversity throughout the city as opposed to pockets of vulnerability. And when Mr. Porter's putting things like that, I'm listening, right? The second thing he says is public housing, from his standpoint, almost encourages the people to stay in generations of public housing. You're not incentivized to get educated, go to school, get a job, and you don't have somebody holding you accountable to these performance thresholds, so it creates this snowball effect of people staying. So he's having this conversation, he watches the network, loves the show, understands that we're talking with, folks of influence. He's like, here's what should happen. First thing, the housing should be spread throughout the city.
Good.
The second thing,
I'm not arguing with you yet.
The second thing, there should be POPs, proof of performance of why you should get the opportunity to stay in housing. And then once you get the education and you get the jobs, because the POPs and the thresholds hold you accountable, what's going to happen? You'll be empowered and you'll leave public housing. When he explained it to me like that, I was like, that makes a lot of sense to me.
So there's a lot to unravel in that statement, which I am not qualified to take a deep dive into the public housing. That is a very specific conversation to have. It means, like affordable housing, it means different things to different people. But what we can do, and when we have a conversation like this, and I wrote it down, a gentleman by the name of John Sales, which is running the Charlottesville Housing Authority, we need to bring him in. This is a question we need to ask. We need to ask him, because I'm not educated enough about public housing to make an intelligent statement about that. But what I can do, and it's why I now this is from the heart. Of course, we should be diversified. This is the reason I spend all the hours I do on the land trust, because that's one of the things that we do. We attempt to diversify neighborhoods. The price point, or the AMI that we're working on, is pretty narrow. It's a 60 to 80% spread. Public housing is much lower than that, and there's much better organizations than us that can handle this. PH is the rock star in the room for that, but also is Habitat, right? And the Charlottesville Housing Authority. I'm going to spin it around a little bit to. I'm not smart enough to answer all these questions, but I was smart enough to create the Regional Housing Partnership 3 years ago. And I would encourage this, what's the gentleman's name again? The reporter.
Which reporter?
The one that you were just talking to, Rob?
Oh, he's the CVille Neighborhood Presidents Association.
Got it, okay, got it.
Herb Porter.
Herb.
Yeah.
So
Neighborhood Association President.
Got it, thank you. I apologize. Lost my train of thought there. But I would encourage him to reach out to me and attend these regional housing partnerships. Their meetings are open to the public. We have all these pillars of it there that can answer those questions much better than I can at this point. I know we're trying to have a dialogue.
We should get on the show or this network. We should start explaining the difference between the various branches of housing, like Habitat, like Piedmont Housing, like Charlottesville Housing. They're all lumped together, and no one knows what they are.
So.
I follow this more closely than most people.
And you're struggling with it.
And I don't know what it is.
You're struggling with it, yeah. So
if you asked him,
yeah.
If you asked anybody,
yeah. Oh, going down a slippery road here, and I'm going with you. It's the ice outside.
Yeah.
But yeah, so without us even having this conversation, that's kind of what I want to tackle in March, right? In March, April, we're going to try to start changing up a little bit. The Tuesday shows is going to be a little bit more focused. That was kind of part of the conversation I've had with Elizabeth, is we're going to start focusing on a little bit more on local businesses and shining local businesses at that Tuesday slot that we have. But on Friday,
I would love a Dan Rosenswag, Sunshine
Yeah.
roundtable.
Well, we'd love to do that once we can get past COVID and we can have a roundtable in here. And roundtables I've found are super difficult to do in the Zoom world or in the Skype world. But we've figured out a way to set that up, and so it's your chemistry's working. Literally, that's what I'm on.
What the people are saying. Too.
Yeah, that's what we're literally on. One of the things that, and look, it's a public body, one of the things that my executive committee is going to hear next week on the, I think it's next week with the Regional Housing Partnership is, we got to define this word affordable housing. Because it means something different to Sunshine. It means something different to Dan. It means something different to Jerry. It means something different to Judah. And it means something different to me, Tanisha, the mayor, Lloyd, Michael. At some level, and we're on the same page. We've got to define this, right? If you can't define it, it's hard to fix it. So that's kind of what we're on the same page without even talking about it.
And you brought up leaders in the city. The West Main Streetscape, that $50 million plus project, is probably going to come down to Seed McGill's vote. Snook and Hill say they want it. Walker and Payne say they don't. They said it on Monday.
Yeah.
$50 million project that's been in the works for years.
Yeah. Well, I will never ever question the decision or the thought process of an elected official, because I just know how much time and energy they put. I'm serious. Okay. They put in there, and I'm a unique animal. I've been doing this for 35 years, working closely with elected officials across all 6 jurisdictions. I've never met one. I may not agree with their opinion, but I've never met one that doesn't put in.
Are you following it? The West Main Street?
Very much so. Very much so.
How do you think it's going to play out?
How do I think it's going to play out? I think it's close. I think you're probably right. I think it's probably down to 1 or 2 votes, for sure. My personal opinion, they should do it. But that's just my personal opinion. I think the interconnectivity between the downtown mall and UVA needs to be done. Is it 50 million? Is it 25 million? Is it 10 million? Whatever it is. But that interconnectivity has to be done. And you probably know this. What did they used to have in the 1800s running from where we're sitting now to UVA, up West Main Street?
What's that?
They used to have a trolley. A streetcar used to run between the train station that's...
They still do.
Yeah, it's a
They still have a trolley.
But this was like an actual train, railroad tracks.
Gotcha.
Right.
There's a trolley that runs.
Yeah. That's a bus that's converted into a trolley. But this was, if you Google it, there was literally, what they would do is...
A rail.
There was a rail that went from where the old train station is downtown. I think Core has its business in there, a couple other different businesses in there. And it would run from there straight up to the university, and students would take, or locals would take this train back and forth. There's also used to be a train from like Palmyra to downtown Charlottesville, so you can get into Palmyra and take a train in that. So
I'm not convinced the West Main Streetscape is going to happen. Cena said on Monday in council that I'm not sure how I can put this ahead of schools.
Yeah, so that's what I mean by I would never question elected officials. They unless you actually sat in that seat and spent the time to look at all the tough decisions they need to make, it's a hard thing. And it's why I've always been preaching, and I will continue to preach, they should have staff members, right, to help them navigate this and help them go through this. But, I mean, I know this. If you're going to do that job right, it's a 40-hour-a-week job on top of your regular job. But, yeah, they're going to listen. They're going to read the numbers. To vote to do the downtown mall, right, was a tough vote back in whatever year that was, 70-something, right? I just personally think if you make that connection between the two, it's only going to benefit everybody. But that's just my personal opinion.
I think it's a no-brainer. Budget constraints may keep it from happening. We will see, perhaps in the next council meeting, the vote happens, whether the West Main Streetscape is a reality in Charlottesville. It's a huge project, And I think it's a project that's going to impact a lot of folks, a lot of business owners, man.
So Google and
Because you know I'm a part of the DBAC here.
I know that.
Yeah. This is something that I feel like should have more momentum on. This impacts real estate
It does.
tremendously.
Well, it helps this, right? And if you're connecting, if you read this, they're connecting.
Think about what it would do with the Star Hill neighborhood, the Fifeville neighborhood,
Sure. Well, what it would
10th and Page neighborhood.
So what it will do, that's why if you read this, if they literally use the words affordable housing. So if you do this and you start get that going, the gentrification of that particular areas is only going to increase, right? So that's why you really need to have this robust. Thank you, robust.
That's why I'm surprised more people in your space are not talking about this.
Yeah, they are. Look, they are. They just don't have what you and I have, this thing in those, right? And they listen and they watch, and I know they do because I get comments about, I can't believe, Smith, you said that. No, I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. But yeah, so it's I think it's a big thing. I think it's an important thing. I think I think it should be done, but you got to look at it holistically. It's going to impact property values upward.
I mean, it's going to gentrify.
That's exactly right.
Multiple neighborhoods. I mean, why is no one talking about this besides me?
Well, why did we spend 12 hours in front of these microphones to raise money to do something in that corridor, right? We're trying to.
If we put $50 million between the UVA corner and the Sacagawea Lewis and Clark statue, here's what's going to happen, guys. Fifeville, Star Hill, 10th and Page will gentrify even quicker than what's happening right now. And Fifeville, Star Hill, and 10th and Page, historically black neighborhoods, are already gentrifying pretty quickly.
Yeah.
You add a $50 million streetscape, and streetscape is not even the right moniker to describe what's happening here. It is a massive restructuring, rebuilding, and renovation of the stretch between the corner and the downtown mall.
So we're shooting off the fly today.
Yeah.
I didn't bring
your plan. That was your plan.
That was my plan today.
Yeah.
I didn't bring this stat with me because I don't want to misquote it, but I will, if not Tuesday, on Friday. This morning, so National Association of Realtors, one of the things I love about them is their statistical prowess.
Yeah.
So, and this was disappointing to read and sad to read, and I know under the leadership of Quentin Beckham and Carr, because we've had this discussion, we're going to do our very best to try to reverse this. The African-American purchaser over the last 12 months went down, percentage-wise.
By?
I didn't write that number down, and I don't want to misquote it. The reality of it is, the housing market is exploding, and the African-American buyer is decreasing, and that's just wrong. And what can we do as an industry? What can we do as a community to reverse that? It's just so. They put out a statistical thing about race and what race is buying what and where and all this kind of different stuff. But that number I read very quickly this morning, and I don't want to misquote it, but I know it went down. And if there's a real estate agent watching it, it's a pretty easy thing to pull up, but it's went down. The Latinx has went up, actually. So the Latinx community is increasing it, but the African-American community is
I would bet
decreasing.
you that statistic mirrors the Charlottesville metropolitan market.
Yeah, so again, it was just a quick read this morning. It was a national number. I didn't get an opportunity. It was another 58, 60-page document, but it just, I was having my morning cup of coffee, and I just like, oh man, really? And I just was really hoping that it was going in the right direction, and it's not. So I don't know what I can do to help to fix this. I don't know what we can do.
Land
to fix
trust.
Yeah, well, the land trust definitely can do that. We've on our Nassau Street, we've diversified that neighborhood in income and ethnicity, but 4 or 5 houses isn't going to do it. It needs to be scaled up in such a way that we can rock and roll. And I think I've had some offline conversations. I won't use names with.
Chris Friedman says, what does Keith think the Star Hill and Fifeville neighborhoods will look like 5 years from now?
Yeah, so I think you've quoted it. I think you're going to start seeing this slow progression, moving forward. I mean, look, interest rates are at historic lows. I was one of the things I wanted to talk a little bit about was the Biden administration announced on the 16th that they're going to continue the forbearance and the foreclosure protection until, hold on a second here, I think it's June 1 or July 1. I can't remember the exact date, but it's June 30th. So they've extended this foreclosure process, or, this ban or this moratorium on that, which is great news. The other thing they're getting ready to do, though, is getting ready to kick in this hopefully if it passes, this $15,000 credit. And I don't know enough about it in specific detail to talk about it. But to answer the question, when you have absorption rates that we have in the city of Charlottesville, everything's fair game on that end of things. I hope that was a non-answer answer.
I think that was a non-answer answer. I'm going to put a listing to help answer that question because I didn't think he was going to answer this. I'm going to put a listing on screen.
Oh, so you knew I was going to dance around that.
Yeah, you danced around it. I figured you would. So what I did was I went to the MLS. I found a listing. Judah, if you can get that in your inbox to put on screen from the heart of Fifeville. This is on Null Street. That's in your inbox if you can get that up, Judah. This is $675,000 asking price for under 2,500 square feet. 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, 713 Null Street. It's a beautiful home.
Yeah, so we talked, I believe it was Tuesday when we ran the numbers. The reality of it, the median.
I'm going to get it on screen for you.
The median list price. The median list price in Charlottesville right now has a 5 in front of it. That's median. That's taking your highs and your lows out. It has a 5 in front of it. Not a 2, not a 3, not a 1, but a 5. And, at that kind of upward pressure is the neighborhoods are going to change.
I mean, because the reason I'm bringing this up is we have common friends. You know who I'm talking about, that live on this street here.
Oh, yeah, got it.
I did the introduction here.
Got it.
This is Null Street in the heart of Fifeville. And is that on screen, Judah? He's going to get it on screen. So Facebook, get ready to look. I mean, it's $675 ask, Keith.
Yeah, sure.
And the $675 ask is on 0.12.
How many days have been on market?
It's under 2,500 square feet. Guess how many days on market?
2.
1.
1.
Yeah. And you want to bet sometime next week this thing is under contract?
No.
Right?
I won't.
It will be.
I won't.
Yeah. It's crazy. What's happening here?
So it's a.
This is on a postage stamp.
Sure.
Of a lot.
Sure. It's an interesting needle to thread, right? Now's the time to buy and sell, right? We talked about this on Tuesday. If you're trying to sell and you're worried about where I'm going to go, there's ways that real estate agents can protect you in the listing, like have done, stating that we're only going to accept contracts allowing the seller to stay in the house, right, until we find another home, right? So we can protect that, and that's loosening up the market a little bit, I think. And you're starting to see things loosen up a little bit on that end of it. But yeah, there's an inventory crunch, and I just don't know. Nobody has a magic answer to that inventory crunch, but it'll probably sell.
6 firms watching from my count. You have Long and Foster. You have Nest.
Thank you.
You have Roy Wheeler. You have at least one of your colleagues at Yes Realty Partners watching the program. It looks like Christopher Eagle is watching and Mr. Michael Plecker.
There you go.
I see folks watching from Real Estate 3 as well, Keller Williams as well. Johnny says housing, it keeps going up and up and up.
Yeah.
So throw this to you.
I know where you're going to go.
Why not just let the market play out?
Well, in essence, that's what it's doing. right? And the market will do the market, right? It will go up and it will go down, and the market is the market, right? We were texting earlier today, or early in the week, and one of the topics that I consistently get asked and look at, and I can't believe I'm about ready to say this, is there's going to be a foreclosure crisis coming.
I don't think so.
There is not going to be.
Yeah, I don't think there will be. It would have happened.
Yeah.
And people are basing it on this forbearance period. When it expires, then the foreclosures will hit the fan. I don't think that's what's going to happen.
No, it won't. Look, we talked about this in the beginning, this time, March of last year when we started doing the Tuesday show, right? When you lose a job, it is a recession. It is a depression. I don't care what the percentage number is. It affects your family. It's just a horrible thing. To go through the F word is just a horrible thing for a family. But we need to talk about the process, right? And what's very different today than in 2008, 2009, and 2010, when we had a real foreclosure crisis. The regulators now are not letting Keith Smith and Yonna Smith use their house as a piggy bank. Right, and what was happening was we were just refinancing, cashing out, and doing whatever, and then eventually there was no equity left. There was a statistic that I looked at yesterday that the average homeowner, nationwide now, the average homeowner picked up $17,000 in 2020 in equity. That's nationwide. It's not a...
I would bet you in Charlottesville, in this area, it's more.
Yeah. So that was just a statistic that...
Do you agree with that?
Well, all real estate is local and micro-local, so what might be at Lake Monticello and Fightful is different than that. The issue is, the point I'm trying to make is, God forbid you're in a situation where you can't pay back your forbearance, or you're in a, just God forbid you're at that point in your life. The difference between 08 and 09 and 010 and today is at least you can sell your house pretty quickly, right? You can get that debt off your back, hopefully come up with a little bit of cash in your pocket, regroup, and move forward. Very easy things to say. And I only say this because I've been there. I've personally been there. I know that you can do this. Our number was a huge number, right? But one can do this with the proper help and guidance from real estate agents in particular. We do much more than buy and sell. We counsel, right? So that's why I don't really think it's going to happen. And the bankers I'm talking to, the folks like Bill Tucker that I'm talking to, they're not ramping up their foreclosure departments. This stuff, I think, is going to get worked out long before it gets into the foreclosure process. Here's the struggle. If you are concerned, the first phone call should be to your loan processor, your loan officer, or your service company. The second should be to a trusted advisor, real estate agent, real estate professional, and saying, look, because once you start missing pay, once you go down this process, it's very hard to walk it back. You need to get in front of it before you get there. And then there's solutions to it. I really did not want to tackle this subject today, but, the conversation is going where the conversation is going.
My friend, Mr. Herb Porter's watching. I'm glad, Herb. I want to get out some of the topics we discussed out into the news cycle here. And here's a good man to do it with, Keith Smith. Let him know real quick, if you could, the two commissions you sit on. You're the chairman of...
I'm chairman of the Regional Housing Partnership.
So he's the chairman of the Regional Housing Partnership.
Which is part of the Planning District Commission, Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission, which I'm the treasurer of.
He's the treasurer of that, and he's the chairman of the Thomas Jefferson...
Community Land Trust.
Community Land Trust.
Yeah.
All right, so you know why I like to say that from time to time is because you're a man of influence, whether you want to admit this or not. All right, so here's what he says.
I'm not in any stretch.
Well, you know a lot of people then. We'll leave it like that.
I know a guy.
Mr. Herb Porter,
Sure.
one-time president of the CVille Neighborhood Association,
Hey,
longtime
Herb.
president. He says, Jerry and Keith, gentrification destroys minority neighborhoods.
It does.
Minorities are forced to move out of Charlottesville.
It does.
We're certainly seeing that.
It's the definition of the word, right? It happens in Seattle, it happens in Portland, it happens in Brooklyn, it happens in wherever it's happening.
That's why I think a topic that we should be talking about perhaps more is, and we talk about this on this network and on this show, is this streetscape project along West Main, this $50 million streetscape project. It's more than a streetscape project. What is it going to do to the Star Hill and CVille neighborhoods? So we have more comments coming in, unless you have something you want to offer here.
Yeah, look, the pot is not unlimited. But assuming it was, or assuming that the pot could be carved up into something else. And this is just, I have a very strong passion and opinion on this affordable housing. Maybe what they do is they carve out a little bit of money from that and give it to Habitat, give it to PH, give it to the Paymount Housing, give it to the Land Trust to help do that. Because let's just talk about what the Land Trust could do in CVille. And if we had a pot of capital, and the reason I know this is possible, Maggie Walker in Richmond does this.
Maggie Walker was the second land trust in Virginia history. The first land trust in Virginia history was the Thomas Jefferson Community Land Trust.
Look at you.
I learned from you guys.
Look at you.
So it's pretty awesome. The first one ever is in Charlottesville.
That's exactly right. So what they have done is they, we're 10 years old or something along those lines. My involvement's only been in the last 3 years. But what Maggie Walker started in the last 3 to 5 years, what they did is they raised $5 million before they even started.
Okay.
And they're using that capital to do something like this. So let's just say this $600,000 home, whatever it is. And
So Herb, we're talking about a home on Knoll Street.
well, let's say let's
Just say in general, but the home he's talking about is 713 Knoll Street. Went on the market today.
sure.
Karen Ball has the listing. We wish nothing but the best of luck to Karen Ball.
She's a pro, absolute
Yeah,
pro.
nothing but the best of
Absolute
luck.
pro.
The home went on the market today. Karen Ball, 713 Knoll Street, $675,000 asking price for .12 lot size, 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath, 2,481 square feet.
I'm just writing it down because I might have a client.
Yeah, I mean, this is a beautiful home.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful home.
But what I'm trying to get to is what the Land Trust can do to help with Herb's thinking, the gentrification. And this is something that we just need to get out there. And I literally, I'll leave the name out of it, but I had a conversation with the city council yesterday exactly about what we're talking about. Explain this to me. So let's assume the Land Trust miraculously has $5 million. Let's just say that. What we can do then is go out and buy land. We can go out and buy that $600,000, $300,000, $400,000 house. We buy that house for cash, close on it, reduce the value of the land, take the land out of it, $150,000, whatever it is. Let's just make math simple for me because I'm a Marine. Anything over 3, I get confused. So let's assume we buy a $300,000 house in
CVille. Yeah.
We buy a $300,000, assuming it existed, but let's assume it does. And then we can take because we now have this pot of cash, we can just go buy that, pay it for cash, close on it, take $150,000 value off of that we keep and do the land trust model on the land, and then sell the improvements above it for $150,000. So what happens is I got a $300,000 market rate house here that Keith and Yonna live in. The next house right to it, we bought it with this capital that we have and sold it for $150,000, the upper level to you and your wife. We just kept it. And the other thing that gentrification is doing, if we can get capital to do it, I'm part of this out in Seattle and Portland on it. What we can do is we can go and buy it from somebody who has to leave because they're being pressured out, and either rent it back to them at some ridiculously low number, right? But it all works around what?
Money. Yeah.
We need that capital. And there's two things to be successful in this process. One is capital from someplace, and the second is to reduce red tape into green tape. And an example of that would be the auxiliary dwelling unit policy in the city of Charlottesville. It needs a ton of work, been preaching that for years, right? One of the problems with that is it has to be owner occupied. So the land trust or PH or Habitat can't go out and buy something, build an auxiliary dwelling unit and either rent it or sell it because it has to be owner occupied. And hopefully they will process that. I hope I helped Herb with this, but I don't know if I was going in the right direction or not.
No, I think you did. Questions, comments, put them in the feed. Questions, comments, put them in the feed. Alex Erpy, welcome to the show. Ray Cadell's watching. Johnny,
hey, Ray, thank you for last Friday, man. That was a lot of fun.
He says, I'm a loyal listener. He loves the show. Johnny says, Keith, when does the pricing of housing stop going up, and how are the banks continuing to appraise the houses as these numbers continue to climb?
Yeah, so the market controls that, Johnny, right? Back and forth. But, the good news, part of the problem in '08 and through 10 is the appraisers actually do a really good job of keeping it in line. So let's say there is a $250,000 house at Lake Monticello, and somebody walks in with a $350,000 contract, it won't appraise. It won't appraise. And then, so what's happening, you're seeing real estate professionals putting in purchase contracts or representing either side, because we do this, is the home must appraise for full contract value. So when we have a conversation with a seller and we get what we perceive to be ridiculously high offers, we will counsel our sellers and look, you can accept this, but understand that if it doesn't appraise, we're going back to the table again.
Well, I mean, here's a question, okay? And I learned from you. You're the expert, okay?
You're scratching the top of your head.
Okay, here's why I'm scratching my head. Could you put the listing back on screen? Okay, because this listing is gotten everybody interested.
Yeah, sure.
Almost kind of like that really expensive tiny home.
Sure.
Okay, so let us know when that's back on screen. Okay, it's on screen. Keep it on screen for a little while, then Keith will be able to see it here. 0.12 is the size of the lot, Keith.
Okay.
4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, under 2,500 square feet.
So
This is going to appraise?
Karen would not put it on the market if she
Okay.
didn't think it was going to appraise.
Okay. Built in 2013. This is not new construction.
Karen
Okay.
is a professional,
Okay.
absolute pro.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I'm getting at.
That's why you go to the trusted advisor.
That's why you go to the trusted advisor.
Because the last thing you want to do is have your expectations set, and it's not going to come to reality.
No. Karen would not put this on the market if she did not think that it was going to appraise for that number. I mean, I flat out can say that she's a pro. I know.
Yeah, she is a pro. I know
Absolutely.
she's a pro.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Keith and Yonna.
Nor would her mentors in Nest allow it.
No, it would never happen.
It wouldn't be good for anybody.
It just wouldn't happen.
Right.
Right. It may be a little over, a little under, but it's not. We do our homework, right? We do a thing called a CMA, right, which is not an appraisal, of course.
Multiple agents are asking this question. With lumber prices skyrocketing again, how is this going to impact list prices coming to market? So here's the nitty gritty. Lumber prices for new construction are going up. I read that today.
Yeah.
And they're going up, so the cost of new construction is going to go higher. So the question is, with new construction costs going up, how's that going to reflect on existing home prices when they come to market?
What's funny?
That's a good question.
We talked about this in the pre-show, and we didn't do this, and Judah will run through it. One of the slides I put together is why is it critical to use a real estate agent in new construction? And as we're talking about this, Judah will bounce through that a little bit. Look, it's to me, it's actually going to impact resales a little bit more, because here's the deal with the appraisal end of things, right? The average down payment these days that folks are doing are 20% is a myth. It doesn't exist. I mean, it exists, but most of these are like 5%, 7%, 10%, 12%. What'll happen, and we're working with about a half a dozen new constructions on it. They just need to bring, the buyer is going to have to bring more cash to the table because the builder's not going to be able to absorb it, and the appraisal isn't going to necessarily work. And in order for that to happen, the buyer is going to have to bring a little bit more cash to the table because the lender isn't going to lend on something. If you're doing 100% financing and it is over market value, the appraiser's just not going to let the loan move forward on it. So it is going to have an impact on it, but look, I've been doing new construction since 1987. This is nothing new. These numbers have been spiking up and down. They're commodity-based.
Multiple agents asking for an appraiser on the show.
Okay, cool. We'll do that.
Yeah.
Good thinking.
Yeah, multiple. 3 agents just posted that. Ray just said, can you please get an appraiser on the show?
Sure.
A good one, a local one, an experienced one.
Sure.
Herb says this, Keith.
Actually, we're probably going to do multiple, because the thing with appraisers, you might have a different opinion than me.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to bring
appraisal roundtable.
Yeah.
We could have one appraiser, maybe that's old school and not super tech savvy, in the in-person hot seat, and then another appraiser via Skype.
Well, then the second thing is one of them have to be who specializes in new construction, that is qualified to do new construction, because not all appraisers can do that. So yeah, I like it. Roundtable. Notes taken.
Herb brings this up. So he and I had a discussion.
Herb, thanks for the engagement, man.
Yeah, he's continuing. He and I had this discussion, and he called the folks that are oftentimes in public housing. They're oftentimes working the jobs around town, like janitorial, back of the house, and restaurants.
Sure.
And he says, how can this class of folks purchase a home when they don't have the finances to do it? I think the best option is the land trust.
Well, it is and it isn't. So if you remember Gregory's explanation.
Greg Slater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The spread, right? Because they have to qualify, right? Because this is a purchase. So the spread between that and not exceeding 80% AMI is a little narrow to that. So just to talk about the homes we did on Nassau Street, that's actually who we have a really diverse level of professionalism in there. We have 2 single teachers, 1 single female teacher, 1 single chef with his daughter. We have a family from Burmese refugees, that exactly what Herb is talking about. The wife is I don't know the proper term, but she does all the housekeeping in UVA.
Housekeeper.
Correct, at UVA.
Yeah.
And the husband is, I believe, a sushi chef, if I remember correctly. And then the other one is, believe it or not, an associate professor at UVA, African-American family, and they all met this criteria to get in it. All, by the way, I think got into a home for 1%, which is $2,000, call it. We took care of all the down payment through PH and other forms, right? We meaning the land trust, took care of the closing costs. The real estate agents kicked in to help with the closing costs, so it all worked. That is why we sat in these chairs last Friday for 12 hours to raise that capital. So to go back to that, if we can get that mythical pot of cash on the other side of the rainbow, we can do that. We can go out and make that happen and diversify this neighborhood. It's working. Google Maggie Walker. They are in hundreds of homes that they're doing in Richmond.
Maggie Walker has an inherent market advantage in that there's a ton more homes in inventory than in Charlottesville. But Maggie Walker is a good example of what could happen if given plentiful resources.
So you're spot on. The thing between Richmond,
there's just a lot more houses in Richmond.
Well, it's more than that.
And they're more affordable.
It's more affordable.
And a lot of them are already currently is the word derelict or dilapidated and left kind of to die, the houses.
So I haven't
Charlottesville, that's not really the case.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
This is an old number, so it may have changed. But at any given time, there's roughly 3,000 homes in the city of Richmond, or properties in the city of Richmond, that are delinquent and vacant and delinquent in their real estate taxes.
So you know what that means, guys? That means the city of Richmond is basically taking over ownership of these homes
They hand them
because they're delinquent in the real estate taxes. The owners of the homes are like, good God, I can't make that tax payment, or my home is such bad shape. They just walk away from the property.
Or they condemn them because they can't find the owner.
And then Richmond is screwed because the city of Richmond, the municipality, does not want to be in the real estate investment business.
And
so they sell them or give them to the Maggie Walker Land Trust for pennies on the dollar, right? Or do they donate them?
They just give them to them.
They give that to them.
Yeah,
Wow.
sure. They just.
That's a good spot to be in. If
We
you're
have
Maggie Walker.
We have this much.
Yeah.
We have
You're
zero.
never going to have that in Charlottesville.
No. Yeah. So the other thing that
Because by the time the homes get to that point, there's a deep-pocketed investor in this town that would have purchased them before they got delinquent and went to city of Charlottesville ownership.
So one of the things.
Do you agree with that?
I apologize. Sorry.
If before these properties in the city of Charlottesville got to delinquent status with their real estate taxes, and before the city could take it, there would be a deep-pocketed investor in this town or some kind of speculator. We would have just gotten them.
This is apples and pears. It's
Right.
not the same universe by any stretch of the imagination. But one of the things that I've been promoting and having conversations with elected officials offline, something that Maggie Walker does actually does it in the city of Richmond, Henrico. Help me out. What's the other? There's another county that adjoins Richmond. It could be Goochland. I may have that wrong. They're actually the land bank for these jurisdictions. And this is something that I've been pushing, that, something with the city and some of the surrounding jurisdictions that maybe utilize our model to be the land bank in that. And basically what land banks do is they take brownfields, right? Or they take, in Richmond's case, properties that are abandoned, right? And they put it in this land bank, and and if you Google Maggie Walker, they actually manage this for these jurisdictions because it's a non-for-profit status, right? And people who donate get tax incentives and so forth and so on.
I think a lot of good came from today.
Yeah,
the topic of an appraisal roundtable.
Yeah, no, I got that. Got it down.
We have a lot of folks that are intrigued by what's going to happen from a gentrification standpoint in Fifeville, Star Hill, and 10th and Page. I think you and I are pretty much. Can I say something? Keith Smith and Real Talk and the I Love CVille Network are pretty much leading the charge for that in this town.
I just think we're blessed to have these things in front of us.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Doing. Yeah, sure.
Because no one else is really vocally talking about this.
There are...
Because of COVID.
Could be. But they are... I don't want to discount.
I know you're not.
There's a bunch of people.
Yeah. You just happen to have the megaphone.
We're just blessed to have
Yeah, you have the
ability.
megaphone.
Yeah.
And that's what gives you the influence.
So, roundtable appraisers, I love it.
Roundtable of agents. Roundtable of small business owners, roundtable of neighborhood associations.
And we're going to bring John
Presidents.
Sales in from...
We should get Herb in here, Mr. Porter.
Sure, we can get Herb in.
Born and raised in this area.
I was about to ask you, where's Herb originally from?
Used to ride horses where Fifth Street Station was.
Well,
before it was even thought about Fifth Street Station.
Well, love his perspective on that.
Military veteran. African-American leader,
cool.
Former president of Fifeville Neighborhood Association. Your kind of people, our kind of people.
Thank you for your service.
You know what I
Herb.
mean? Our kind of people.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service, Herb. We know what flavor of service he was in? Because I got to do a little Marine Corps.
Herb, Keith's a Marine. I would love to know if you could put in the feed, Herb, where you served. Loves a cold beverage.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
It's not bourbon. Bourbon is not my choice.
As long as it's cold.
As long as it's cold. Yeah. So look, guys, I think we had a great day today.
Yeah.
What I showed today. I wanted to, look. We were just talking about struggles, right? We're struggling. Anything that's growing at the pace that we're growing, we're going to have growing pains. We're going to have struggles.
Air Force.
There you go. I spent a little bit of time in Lackland Air Force Base and trained with the pararescue guys. So we'll have a drink and tell some lies one day, Herb. But for all our struggles, we're consistently top 10.
Charlottesville.
That's exactly the region. So this is the MSA. So this is, Charlottesville, Albemarle, Fluvanna, Nelson, Green, Louisa, right, on this side of the mountain. So look, we must be doing something right. Can we get better? Absolutely. The
unfortunate thing, I love these awards. I love them.
I know you do.
I love that Charlottesville, for those that are watching, the Charlottesville metropolitan area is the second most popular metropolitan area in America for retirees to move to.
In 2020.
Waynesboro is third.
Correct.
Okay? That's in the country. The top 10 accolade, that the link is in the feed for people. All these awards and these accolades, they're good for the economy.
Sure.
They're good for current homeowners.
Sure.
They're good for driving the economic future of Charlottesville.
Sure.
But they are driving momentum behind gentrification.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, right? How
'Cause you got people with big bags of money moving here, and they're buying up the real estate. That's what's happening.
So, look, but that doesn't mean that, hey, I'm coming in with a bag of money and I don't want anybody else here. We talk about this NIMBYism
Yeah,
stuff
I don't
a lot.
think that's what it means. It's just that they're buying the real estate.
They're buying the real estate.
Yeah.
And I think you're 100% right. We're blessed and fortunate to have these things in front of us and this in front of us and the reach that you have. And as we're having this conversation, my wheels are turning.
For example, you have Albemarle County's office building watching now.
Yeah, thank you. That being said, I think we're going to start moving. Not I know we're going to start moving into these more roundtable things. I know we've been talking offline for that. Is what really is, what does PH do? What does Dan and Habitat do? What do? We talk about the land trust all the time because that's the one I sit on. But there's many other organizations that do that that we can come together and do that. So we'll do roundtables. The struggle has been this
COVID.
Damn thing called COVID,
Yeah,
right?
now we got that.
Well, we can do at least 3.
Yeah.
And call in one.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, cool. I'm in. Thanks, Herb, for your participation, man.
This turned out well.
Yeah.
I like when we come in on the fly and
Yeah, well.
spitball.
I was going to say something about Air Force, but then I don't want Herb to come kick my butt, so I'll shut up.
He would kick your butt too. He would kick your butt.
So I got to, yeah.
All of us have to get together over something cold. That's what we
Yeah,
need
we'll
to
do.
Judah Whitcower is the director. His name is Keith Smith. Yes, Team Realtors. Yes, Realty Partners. Keith Smith. Keith and Yonna Smith, as trusted as it gets. A-plus character people. My name is Jerry Miller. Today on the I Love CVille show, Daniel Rutherford, Jesse's brother, Nelson County Commonwealth's attorney.
We're going to talk about what he...
Alexis Murphy.
Yeah.
We're going to talk Alexis
Great
Murphy.
family, man.
Yeah, dude, his brother's the Commonwealth's attorney, and Jesse's on the board of supervisors.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I've got an appointment at 12. Unfortunately, I can't watch it, but I watched the
Monday show is the one you should watch. Kathy Galvin to talk real estate and capital improvement projects. Which is like completely in your... I'm calling you in after so you can respond and react to the former counselor and architect. Kathy can talk the talk.
I've been trying to sit down and have a cup of coffee with her, but since she's left
She's a busy
council,
gal.
but COVID has been making that really hard. Is she going to personally come in?
Oh, yeah.
She's going to come in and sit here?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, good for you.
Yeah, I can't wait to see her.
Good,
I'm excited. And then next week, Juan Diego Wade, Brian Pinkston, and I think Michael Payne. It's going to be busy.
Yeah. So for me, on Tuesday, we're going to talk other side of the mountain, bring in 2 real estate agents from there. And then on Friday, I'm trying to I think next week I want to focus on the other side of the mountain just to kind of pivot a little bit. And then on Friday.
I would love to get a Fifeville and Star Hill neighborhood expert on the show.
Yeah, okay.
Someone that can speak to the history of Fifeville and Star Hill. And I'm doing a hint, wink, wink, Herb Porter over here. But somebody that can talk about how the neighborhoods...
watch out. He's going to suck you in, man.
How the neighborhoods have changed.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think we need to do that all the way around and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Look, at the end of the day, it's kind of what we started. We all got to be good to one another, love one another, this is a win-win. I had somebody ask me the other day about, how important was the real estate space to our economy. To the
Critically.
state. It's number 2.
Number 2 in the Commonwealth, behind the government.
And that's not us. That's coming from Dr. Sturtevant.
Yeah. So real estate, the supply chain that is real estate, is the second largest industry in the Commonwealth of Virginia behind the government industry.
And I'm not, I won't say I'm not a smart guy because I won't do it.
I don't like when you say that.
I know that. I won't say it. I'm not an educated man, right? That's a fair statement. I don't have a college degree.
Education is perspective, and from my standpoint, your perspective is that of a wise man. And this is where he says, you calling me?
Are the cameras still
You
live?
call me old?
Because I want to flip you off, but I don't know if I can do that
You
in
can
front.
flip me off.
No. Mrs. Smith is watching.
She is watching.
So I'll get myself into trouble.
Keep it on the
but
up and up.
let's say you understand what I'm thinking.
I do. I know you, my friend.
But yeah, but
Really, I just see a 25-year, like a 30-year-old dude over here.
No.
I literally.
Well, you're double that, and maybe we're close. But the reality of it is, just think back to what our economy was, 08 to 10, 11, and 12. It was devastated. And it was because no housing was moving. So that tells you how important it is, right? So we're trying to solve this gentrification problem, and we're trying to solve all these kind of great things. But just think back to how paramount what we do is to our economy. Now, sometime maybe the housing market might change a little bit. And if there's a large enough pot of money, and the problem is once real estate starts changing, the revenue that's going to the jurisdictions decrease, which means they can't put money into affordable housing. Right? So this is a very vicious cycle that you kind of go into.
So basically what he's saying here is COVID is a MFer. And what COVID has basically done is taken away the disposable income from the local municipality to allocate to affordable housing. So not only is COVID-19 driving people with big bags of money to this area to purchase up the real estate, it's also keeping the government from giving the money to the nonprofits to fight for affordable housing.
Well, that's why we spent 12 hours behind these microphones.
It's a double-edged sword.
It's
like the worst snowball ever.
So one of the things you and I do well is,
Is communicate.
Well, that too.
Lead.
That too.
Galvanize.
That too.
Explain.
Come on, keep on going. It starts with
I'm getting embarrassed now.
It starts with a V.
I'm getting embarrassed now.
We have
vision.
There you go.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's why.
See ahead of the game. Yeah, I agree with that.
1 or 2 years ago, definitively when this crap started, I was pushing, okay, guys, we got to find money someplace else. Because the city of Charlottesville may be able to throw some money our way, but the need is so great, we've got to raise money otherwise. And now's the time to do this. Now is the time to...
Well, and the really tough part for what you guys are trying to do is the construction costs are going up.
So we're very blessed.
Oh, you have that fixed?
Because...
Donated?
Correct. We'll lean.
Understood.
We have partners
Gotcha.
that will absorb this stuff to go, to keep us at the point we'll do it, because I'll be doing a little bit of
because
do what I do good.
Because he's gonna whittle them down like a number 2 pencil. Is that what he's saying?
That's why I was wondering where Herb was from, because I need some help, Herb. Let's go, buddy. Let's go ahead and whittle some of these people down.
I enjoy this, man. Keith Smith, Judah Wickower.
It's over.
Yeah, I know. We got to go.
We
went over an hour here.
Sorry.
Thank you for joining us, guys, on Real Talk. He is A+ People. We'll see you in about an hour and 2 minutes on the I Love CVille show. We'll close on this. Thank you for your service, Keith Smith from Reporter.
Thank you. Thank you, Herb, for your service. Thank you for everybody else on the feed that provided service to our country. Thank you.
Amen. Amen. Judah, roll those credits, baby. Good job.
You too, buddy.
Nicely done.